babe, don't make a sound. 2 a.m. love, gotta keep it down. Don't wait around for a signal now. Give me some verb, I ain't talking now. You wanna ride in the 6, you wanna dine in the 6. But when I lean for the kiss, you said I'll probably send you some pics. And I'm like, hell nah, been waiting too long. Hell nah.
And Melt, Madison County in front, and Madison County beats Melt. Oh, he's an excitement machine here. He gave them the go-by, and away he goes, the showy chestnut. That was brilliant. 5 to midnight, but it's Sandy Cope in front. Run, baby, run. She's home.
Losing all my innocence, yeah, body on my, riding on my innocence, yeah, body on my, losing all my innocence, yeah, body on my, riding on my innocence.
Well, it was a mixed week for the Pittman family. All things going well health-wise for Michael Pittman, we're hearing, and Savvy Cope, a Group 1 winner last Saturday. What a result. The third leg of the 3 Group 1 Triple Crowns out of the Hawke's Bay. She's the only horse you wanted to be on, Jason, let's be honest.
It was an amazing race, and when Chris Johnson sent Savvy Cope to the front at the top of the straight, she didn't stop and she proved her class. Yeah, congratulations to all concerned. There were a couple of question marks, so she was very well backed and very well liked. There were a couple of question marks whether she would settle, and Johnson's recent winning strike rate. Those things were answered in no uncertain terms, and Aidan Rodley, will it be a case of her lining up against Winks in the Cox Plate?
Well, that's certainly what the plan is, and on what she did in the weekend, why not? You know, like it's we've had Taiku Lanuga over there in place in Cox Plates and things after being an Oaks winner, so you know she's in very good form. Geez, it was a dominant win, wasn't it? She was clinical, and I think you had $500 of your bank on her, so that was nice going too, Matt.
We're back to square one this week, so we start with 1,000. We can't be getting carried away with $500 bets. Jason, just before we get into our bank total updates, let's say she goes to the Cox Plate Savvy Cope. At this point, how does she line up?
Well, she'd have to be, you know, in a Winks out market, she would have to be, to me, in the top 3 or 4. We don't quite know the nature of how that field will stack up, because there's some, you know, talks of a few horses falling away and wanting to avoid Winks and things like that. But when you take a line through Humidor, and I know he's progressed and delivered Group 1s in Australia, and you look at some of the horses that are still competitive there, like John Snow, she's signalled that she's very much the best of what we have in New Zealand, and that's going to be good enough, Winks out, to be right up there in a Cox Plate that doesn't really have much depth outside of the champion mare herself.
We don't know about those internationals, though, because there are definitely horses who are in Melbourne at the moment that are targeted for that race. Humidor was very good as a peak run in the Cox Plate last year, did give her a fright. So, and he seems to be in very good form as well. We'll
get a little taste test this weekend, because a few of them are lining up at Caulfield, and where they go from what is a very big Guineas meeting tomorrow at Caulfield. So it's a hell of a weekend. Obviously in New Zealand we don't have Group 1 racing. We have some very competitive races. There'll be so much focus on the Everest, however, at Randwick, and the Guineas meeting, which makes for an extraordinary day across the Tasman there amongst those 2 venues.
Looking forward to the Rich Hill Stud Taranaki Breeders' Stakes as well, coming in from Harwood on Saturday. We'll be talking Everest with Dan O'Sullivan a little later on too. Let's have a look at the updates from the end of our
Well
leaderboard.
done, Matthew. That's a victory. That is
a
famous victory.
It was up a little more than that. Savvy Cope, clearly a decent result, and I'm proud of us. 3 of us in profit.
Look, if you can start with 1,000 at the end of 10 weeks and have 1,560 profit, there wouldn't be a second in your life where you wouldn't take it. That's
and they're the hardest things, obviously. It's going to be weekends like this weekend where we're coming into it, doing our form on a Thursday, but with rain about and not knowing track conditions. It's going to make this weekend a little bit tough, but I guess that's the period we've been through as well.
Okay, we're almost in the green on the best bets competition as well. We'll take a look at that a little later on. We'll set the scene for our first meeting on the card very shortly, but punishment, Jason Tan. I'm still up from last time. Aidan will bring you in as well. Any ideas what Stu and I can do?
I think it's going to have to be combined, because he's dead set got away with not being punished the previous session. I don't know how.
Yeah.
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 It's funny how it works, isn't it? It's funny how
There will be a
It'll be pending, and I think we still owe you a dinner from a bet going back a long way as well. So
what horse
might be
was
able
that?
to try and put,
Saint Emilion beat
Who Dares
wins in the Canterbury Gold Cup, I think it was. But anyway,
Yeah.
we can't move forward living in the past, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move forward now and take a look at the market for the Breeders' Stakes on Saturday and track conditions there. Jace, we've got a dead forward track, 1400 the trip for the Breeders' Stakes. We're late on in the day. How do we attack the track at Harwater?
Well, it is difficult because there's been 10 mils overnight according to the loveracing.nz website as it's been renamed. Different discussion. But there's also meant to be rain today. And tomorrow it's unsettled, but it is meant to clear. So, look, Aidan, it's hard to... it's unlikely that it will remain at a dead 4 given what we're seeing on the radars.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. There's no irrigation going on to Hawara, but obviously with the forecast going ahead, they knew that the rain was coming, so it's understandable they do irrigate at Matamata. Here's the speed map for the Taranaki Breeders with Nicoletta going forward. Petit and Jeu, who's also in the Matamata Cup, the other one going forward. Deca, Ruby and Marnie to get nice enough runs. I had Darscape Princess handy. Henny's Red Sierra will go back. Reyes goes back as well. I don't think there's too much. Where did you have Darscape Princess?
I don't think there was, like the overall speed I wouldn't say is any more than genuine, is it? Any faster than genuine?
With out of that race, then it becomes even less.
That's right. Like if you're having Rosewood mapped midfield, then that really does say that there's not a heck of a lot of pressure to be expected, right? Like, so you maybe Darscape, they could be a bit more positive with her, even though her Group 1 target's the Captain Cook at Trentham in just over a month. So...
With the weight for age conditions, there's a couple of horses up the top, especially the first 3 that are obviously quite well in.
Yes.
Darscape Princess being one of those. I'm going to take you back to its run at Ellerslie. This was a wee while back and gets beaten by the horse in front here. Talk me through this, Jason, and how this would rate at weight for age first up.
Well, this is you're basically treating this like a Group 1 win. She hasn't got the Group 1 win, but the performance was every bit as good as the winner. She's swung wide. She's reeled off the fastest last 600 and like... how has she not quite won this? Well done to Saint Emilion on the day who got it done, but this is a really strong effort. You'd say that, you know, Lizzie Lamore wasn't at her best that day on that track and Leith Innes schooled them in front, but it was a top run. Where she's at in her prep, her recent trials said that she was, you know, not far away from being close to her peak, but obviously not peaking with the Captain Cook in mind. But I understand that the stable are happy with her. So, you know, even if she's a couple of lengths off that, she's one of the hardest to beat in the race.
She hasn't won fresh up, and after that run on the New Zealand Stakes, she went to Te Aroha for the New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes and chased home not only Nicoletta but also Henny. So at the distance shorter than her best, she might be vulnerable here, but we know she's a class.
Yeah, I think you just put a line through that as being maybe the end of her preparation.
Yeah,
she sort of revealed that more than anything, because it was quite a bit below what she did there at Ellerslie, that effort. In the Thoroughbred Breeders.
Okay, Aidan, back to Avondale. She runs better than 110 here, living on the Prix. Could have got $5 first thing Friday morning. It's around $4.60 now. Pretty impressive sort of an effort here and definitely deserves its spot.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a horse who was competitive, only beaten a length and a half in behind Group 1 winners in the Group 2 Westbury Classic in January. Comes out and runs Te Akau Shark pretty close. First up at Hastings, which was, you know, after seeing what Te Akau Shark did last Saturday, a fantastic performance. And this was clinical. It was very, very easy, Jason. And she stamps herself as being a class mare who looks really well placed. I'm just not too sure about on a slow track if we're going to get down to that range, but she looks to be in great form.
She should be okay, but you've described everything there. I can't disagree with it. I agree with you totally. The advantage that she has over a horse like Darscape Princess is 2 runs under her belt, and they've been brilliant. As you know, placing to Te Akau Shark, who was, outside of Savvy Cope, the most amazing performance at Hastings. And we really can't wait to find out where Te Akau Shark is going to go next, whether it's the Copelands or to Australia. Sorry, I digress. But, you know, living on a prayer, it's not a surprise to see her shorten, as she has. She should map nicely just in behind the main speed, and she's drawn well enough that if they don't go hard, she might be, you know, close enough to it. Like, shouldn't get too far off it. 14 third up, that's perfect. She's really progressive.
On Te Akau Shark, I did speak to Jamie Richards before we came on here. He said they're just giving him a week off. on the Water Walker, and when he comes back in, they'll assess him, and then they'll make a decision. So no decision yet made on Te Akau Shark.
Well, it'll be one of the most anticipated decisions in recent memory. We know that Savvy Cope's expected to go to the Cox Plate. No, to me, in my head, it's like, where's Te Akau Shark going to go?
Yeah.
Because you don't see performances like he delivered very often. And when you see them, when you see him beating a genuine horse like Love Affair, who you would say is clearly a Group 2, maybe a Group 1 horse in New Zealand, just going past like she's tied to the fence, like he has got his undoubted Group 1 quality about him.
And kudos to the bookies as well. They gave us that at Quinella for the last week's special. It'll be interesting to see what this week's one is.
Yeah, certainly will be. Let's talk about a couple of other runners in the race. We'll get to Rosewood in a moment. Yearns, the first horse. Shafiq Rusov takes the ride on Saturday, taking you back to its second placing at Ruakaka. What about the pattern this day, Jason? What was the pattern like, and did she run against it?
Well, we've seen the recent meetings at Ruakaka where if you make your run 2 or 3 metres off the rail and you're making ground, that's stacked up. We saw that with Madison County up against Melt in the Hawke's Bay Guineas, and this race wasn't run to suit, and she's run very, very close to a horse that had the beautiful suck run behind the speed and nipped along the rails. So it was a very, very strong run. Sectionally, it was outstanding. It said that you wanted to be on her next up. This is, you know, a very rich proposition for her in terms of the fact that she's an 84 and she's up against horses rated upwards of 14 points superior to her. But on spec, you would expect her to be a 90-plus rated horse anyway. So.
Yeah, you do raise an interesting point about the makeup of this race, because that weight for age, we're getting horses in there. We've even got a maiden in this race down the bottom who's first ballot, but we're getting into horses who are 60s and 70s up against some really, you know, top class mares. So when you are assessing this race, it should be an easy enough race to just be able to, you know, put a line through some of the horses who don't look well placed here.
Is Rosewood over the odds a little, double figures for her?
Depends on the weather. It really is weather dependent, and there was a lot of talk earlier on the week that it was just going to be, you know, like a lot of rain, and it would hit Hawera hard.
So if it does rain, we back her?
Would need to go down a number of penetrometer readings, I would have thought, before, or at least ratings, track ratings before.
What about Art Deco drawn 1?
Potentially. This is Widdamu Pin's first ride in a stakes race, so momentous. Because of that, the horse pushed really hard in the Ingelheim Boehringer last time out. Once again, her best form has been on slightly wetter track conditions. I wouldn't be ruling Rosewood out completely, because she's a class horse. Lisa Allpress unbeaten on her in 4 starts, and she's back on board. So there's one sign as well.
If you're considering Art Deco, you've got to be considering Henny as well. Henny second up has a nearly impeccable second up record.
Unbelievable. And the last 3 second up starts have all been wins. So
yes.
It's not like she did that early in her career.
That's right.
She just improves every time into her second up.
And it was a very good run up against Art Deco last start, and,
the concern
and she
with
gets
her is
a
that
big
draw,
weight swing
right?
in her favour. It might be, it might not be. It just depends on how the weather pans out, doesn't
in
it?
the past, like you remember her beating up Riccarton last prep.
Just mops them.
It worked. Yeah. She did, and she's a Riccarton horse as well. Yeah. But that second up run, she was able to take up a handy spot. And although she got into a difficult position that day, you know, she is a go forward horse. So
potentially she could sit in the first 4, overcome that draw, and
weight
not
for
be
age
an issue.
conditions, obviously, in her favour.
And you ride it like, you know, these jockeys of these horses, these mares that are highly rated, you're inclined to ride them like they're better than the others as well. So I'd say that there'd be, I'd say Mike Breslin and Rosie Myers, they'd have a chat, they'd sort tactics, but I'd be shocked if she wasn't sitting in the first sort of 3, 4 and running. Well, given your map as well, like there's an opportunity to be there.
Will 2 trials be enough for Nicoletta, do you think?
Just the 14, how sharp that'll be. But she trialled up well.
I really
liked her latest trial. It just said that she's pretty close. And again, on class, you're loath to,
if
to
not
leave
Saturday, when can we back her? Under what conditions?
16 plus, but I think 2000, 16 to 2000, and they'll be picking out races like that. And you wouldn't be surprised whether
she's won a Group 3 Desert Gold, placed in races like the New Zealand Thoroughbred breeders, a Herbie Dyke and a Travis as well.
Like so your OMF type stakes, weight for age Melbourne Cup Day 2000, might be a bit soon, but that sort of race might be, you know, well, a mile race, maybe the Captain Cook is what they're thinking about as well, or a Thompson.
And one more I want to talk about, Red Sierra, drawn bad, but was going well enough to probably warrant a little bit of respect, do you feel?
Potentially. I think any rain would probably help her chances as well. She's not well in at the ratings again as a 79 horse, but she was up in that Art Deco race a couple of starts back at Wanganui and wasn't too bad, but she's up, what, 5 kilograms on that?
It's hard to have it close to Art Deco and Henny and horses like that, right? Like to me, she's got a few links to find actually.
Yeah. Okay, for you, Jason, Taranaki Breeders' Stakes, make us some money. What are we going to do?
I'm happy to primarily bet Living on a Prayer and have a smaller outlay on Yearn. The other two that I really like, I have a hell of a lot of respect for Darscape Princess, and I'll be watching the conditions on the day. She probably doesn't want the track to get too bad, but yeah, she's a very, very high quality mare.
Yep. For you, Adam?
Same. We were on her that day at Avondale, and she won very well. She's a horse who's in form. I'm going to back her on each way basis. Okay,
a couple of races before will be the Egmont Cup this year, courtesy of South Taranaki Club, over 2,100 metres, 3:30 the start time. Nymph Monte $5.50, ladies first $3.40. Aidan, you could have got $4.20 on opening for ladies first. Widdamoo Pin has a ride on the daughter of Dylan Thomas. No Melbourne Cup for her. Can she make it 10 from 20? The punters think so at this stage.
Exactly. She's a Group 1 horse. She's 4th up into the preparation. She's got the claimer on. She's going to get conditions to suit. And the word from Alan Sharrock is that she's trained the house down in the lead up to this. No surprise she's shortening, and she's my bet of the day. I thought she was a standout here.
I love your confidence. Jason Tarn, do you concur with Mr. Rodley?
No.
We're going head to head.
And I don't like going against A. Sharrock, a great judge, when he actually labels them and says they're working the house down. Aidan, who also is a great judge who likes her, and I've done my form and I'm like, well, what did you make of her last start? I suppose she's got blinkers and tongue tie on. Those are positive gear moves, but to me, I mean, yeah, and the map as well. Like,
we're going to make a case against each other here. Does Winkle China Star and Gobstopper mean that there's going to be a little bit of speed in this race? We've seen Gobstopper get back in the last couple, but he is an on-pace horse. Every time we've seen him over 2,000 metres, he's been on speed, so I see no reason for him to change, even I've got a wide draw. So early on, there'll be a little bit of zip into the first bend. I think they'll settle down.
Let's have a look at this replay, Jason, and you can talk to it. Tell me what you didn't like.
Should we play the opposites game, where I try and find the positives of ladies first, given that I'm not betting her, and Aidan can try and knock her, because obviously the positives are the gear changes, the additions, the fact that there is rain about that should be suitable, and Alan Sharrock is absolutely loving how she's training. This run, I thought, why didn't you do more?
She's on the inside, which was favourable. Maybe just a spot closer than what than she's
fair enough.
She's there. But you look here, Nymph Monte's making ground out wide into the the worst part of the track, and it's beaten ladies first here, or is it the other way around?
No, it's beaten. Beats.
So what by? What, half a length is it?
Yeah.
Half a length. It's a 3.5 kilogram swing to ladies first, plus a number of gear changes.
She isn't very well with Widdamoo Pin's claim. There's no doubt that really aids how well she comes into the race.
But to be fair, Nymph Monte is racing very well. Didn't get the pattern to suit, and on the first day ran home in really very good sectionals. He's 4th up. He's a winner at his only appearance at Howrah. I think Rory Hutchings was aboard that day too.
I could find 2 lengths for Nymph Monte on that run. I couldn't find a length for ladies first.
Really? What is 3.5 kilograms?
So in terms of the run itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the weight that equalises it, and then the gear adjustments then you're adding afterwards. But off just that raw run, I could find 2 lengths for Nymph Monte. I couldn't find a length for her. But now that you look at the conditions of the race, then yeah, she comes up with all those things: the claim, the track work being great, gear additions. But man, I don't know. I've got her on top, but I just didn't think she was a price.
On a rain-affected track, and obviously there are people who are thinking she's a price, because when I made her a bet live, she was part.
Oh, look, the market speaks too. So
she's coming into 340.
Everything says this is going to be a horrible clip of me being wrong.
I'm not so sure about that, because obviously Nymph Monte is a very good horse as well. You've got Shafiq Rusov, he's in the zone. I think he's one of the top 5 jockeys in the country, the way he's riding at the moment. So
it'll look worse for both of you of the $100 shot.
Oh well, look, we haven't talked about 4th, confidence of the rest of the runners.
China Star single figures, Bizwinkle single figures. Jason, your thoughts on those two?
Well, China Star, her run fresh up was excellent. She had a tough run last start. She can bounce back, and
she just hasn't got the gate speed that she's shown in the past. I've mapped her outside the leader because I really hope that they can get her out there, because her run on that first day was every bit as good as Nymph Monte's. And Ladies First was obviously ridden colder, but still finished in the fastest of the race. She's got to be in the mix. Great to have Robert Hannon back as well.
Back on. I think, you know, I'm pretty sure he's ridden her to.
Well, she was fourth in that Travis Stakes, wasn't
success,
she? And she wasn't bad in the Travis Stakes last year as well. So I thought she was one who could take up a position and be somewhere near them as well. We've got Samson in this race
Robbie won on it at Awapuni earlier in the year, that Manawatu Breeders. So he does have a decent record, but she doesn't have a great winning record. If you take that out, it's been a long time.
Maygrove?
Wins either side.
I want to back Maygrove. Talk me out of it.
No.
Okay, I'll back it. No, in all seriousness.
Second up was really unlucky in the Jacklebury. Last preparation was, well, last year basically, was really unlucky in that race. So second up, a quick step up. And he's run well. I think he's won with 60 kilos the Counties Cup, right? So that's a good line for this.
He's won a Counties Wellington and Awapuni Gold Cup, so he's a good enough horse. He's a year older, so it's never that easy, but we know that the Baker horses do improve after a run.
It sounds silly, Matthew. I've got Ladies First on top, but the bet for me is Monty at the price.
Okay, how much?
I don't know, it was 25 or something like that. I included
and a box Quinella?
I include Ladies First in a box Quinella with China Star.
Right, Aidan?
Just a small little tip of the hat from Jason as well there to Ladies First.
I'll give you absolutely.
She's my bet of the day. I've got 20 over 50 of her, although when I did the prices, obviously she was closer to being an each way price there than what she is now.
Just want to ask about Strolling Vagabond too, because every time we seem to not mention Strolling Vagabond, it comes out and lobs itself on the speed and it wins.
Well, you talk about horses like China Star that's lost the ability to position. What's happened to her in the last start or two? Because she was a horse that you'd guarantee would be planted right on the speed and run well. But yeah, if somehow Ryan Elliott gets her out into a nice spot, then for sure.
Yeah, the side winkers off and the blinkers go on, so there is a gear change there which do suggest that they want to take up a handier position, but good over in the
like Bizwinkle as well, like he sort of did things well, and I'd say he'd be a far better horse third up than even second up. So
yeah.
Just quickly before we go to the break, race number 7 at 5 minutes after 4 has got the likes of King Cougar, Mighty Solomon, Basu. Just a quick tip on that before we get to the break. Jason?
Monracur, I think, is the horse in that.
Yeah, I was with Monracur as well. Very good runner behind Stratocaster at New Plymouth.
For those of you playing the quaddie, that will be the second leg. We've spoken about the first and the third on the Punters Lounge, tab.co.nz/the Punters Lounge. Jason and I will preview the card in from Harwater. Jason and Aidan will take a look at Matamata. We got him! We got him finally! Back after this. Don't go away.
Welcome into this week's edition of the First Cool Money Makers, where Matamata is our focus. We've got Dawn Patrol from the Frank Ritchie stable. Was super impressive when winning his maiden and goes back to the scene of the crime. Jason Waddell rode the horse that day. He is out due to a suspension, but he's given it a really big rap.
The money right on the lolly here, and Dawn Patrol raced away for the win.
Next up is race 6, Demonetisation for Nigel Tiley. Come for its fresh run really well, and we were out with Nigel during the week, and he thought that it was forward enough to strike second up. He's got some big targets in mind moving forward, so certainly a watch around this one.
After them as well, Mighty Me took the lead though, and Mighty Me driven out to the line will get there from Midnight Runner, Acceleration, and then I think Demonetisation out wide. 2
bets for us at Matamata this week. Good luck with your investments. I'll be back next week for an Australian edition as we count down to the Caulfield Cup.
Team Whelans in behind the Matamata Cup for 2018. Let's take a bow peep at the market. We've got 2 very handy animals resuming to the races. We've got Sheriff and Demonetisation. Of course, Sheriff has had one run back to the races,
Both
as
of them
has
have.
Demonetisation. They're both second up. You know what I was trying to say?
do,
They're both
yeah, I
second
do.
up.
Yeah.
$2.80 versus $4, Sheriff Demonetisation. Is that a reflection of the barrier draws, Aidan?
Probably, but Sheriff was just so eye-catching last time
To
out.
resume something means that you have to start it again, though.
Yeah, of
doesn't
course.
it?
Yeah, well,
So they
they're
finished
starting
last time,
again
they're
at
resuming again. Technically, I'm right.
maybe. Yeah, something like that. Anyhow, the rest of the market's interesting.
Yeah.
Deals and Hills I thought was okay last time. It just got a check at a bad time at 10s. Now King Sway at 12s. Also Richie McCaw's, who's been running on one of those horses again, who's been running on against the pattern at Ruakaka, so it's been good.
Speed map. Where have you got them?
Speed Met, well, it's a tricky one, especially around those two horses.
Do they do they push the button with Demonetisation?
I don't know. Now, that's the question about this Speed Map. And for me, I've got the horse going where is he?
He's not
gone.
there. He must
okay,
be out
so
of it.
I've got him sort of going back.
Well,
a
we've got
little
him
bit
options.
here, so
He's still
we
there.
do. He could
I
actually
can-
sit up here.
he's-
Actually,
Yeah.
where do you
Where
want
should
him,
we-
Jason?
Where
Oh,
should we
my
put
God.
him?
In that spot that you've got him there, that
one there?
gap, that's absolutely perfect.
gap.
Just in front of Ringo
Yeah,
and behind
get him in
Admiral.
there,
That'd be
amazing.
nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Sheriff back here on the inside here. So with Woodsman, Admiral likely to get forward. And TNG, we've got it mapped in two different venues, but somewhere there as well.
What are
There's a
your
hole.
thoughts on the speed map, Jason?
Oh, I was just hoping that Demonetisation would magically appear there, but
Just wake up in the 1-1, you reckon?
oh, that'd be something. But he's got that sort of tactical speed where you'd be inclined to push forward. Yeah, there's not an abundance. I mean, sorry, Admiral and Woodsman, they're potentially sort of strong leaders, and then there's, I think, a space behind those runners to get position.
I'm going to have to give
Oh, there we go.
There he is.
We'll get him in there. Jeez.
I don't think we'll get TV awards for that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get any awards for not getting him into the map. That is terrible.
The ratings are
Sorry,
through the roof.
boys.
Sheriff, talk to me about Sheriff's last start run, Jason.
Oh, what a run it was. Leith Innes, you can see, spotted back last the inside, and at this stage still hasn't gone for the horse, still not really clear, and then comes off and punches through them, and it's really only the 150 that he gets serious and he charges. So what I like as a general rule, what we've seen through the Group 1 Livermore is how our 3-year-olds have come through their 3-year-old year and how competitive they are at 4. And I speak primarily of the Winnisavi coat, but also Dance off a light preparation to be a very unlucky 3rd, and Scott Base to be there in 4th, and them drawing clear of the others. It bodes well for Sheriff, Demonetisation, those horses that, you know, were late 3-year-olds in many respects, or Demonetisation had an issue. But they, like Sheriff, came to prominence late in the season.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about Demonetisation and go back to his last start run. That's at Pukekohe back through the 3rd week of September. Here he is running into 4th spot. Rich Billy Marsh leading them up. Good effort, obviously short of his best, Jason Tan. 1600 now. Looks to be pretty good.
excellent. This is an excellent lead-up run, isn't it? You know that
You said that with
1200's...
such finesse.
I don't know.
There was so much meaning to it.
1200 metres too short, as you mentioned, and hitting the line really strongly. You just expect him to settle in the first half of the field, and it'd be a real good battle between him and Sheriff primarily.
Okay, before we talk more on Demonetisation, during the week, the lads from Trackside went out to Pukekohe and caught up with his trainer, Nigel Tiley.
He has his moments. He's a 4-year-old stallion, and he knows he's a boy. So, we don't take any chances with him. So far, so good. We haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. Being a hind leg probably makes it a little bit easier for him. He's not sort of weight bearing as much, but no, so far so good. Yeah, very happy with him. He, he didn't have a hard run. He got to the line really well, and he's absolutely thrived since that run. Yeah, look, he gets in really well with the 53.5 on his back. 1600 metres is what he's looking for it already. I would have run him first up over 14, but there just wasn't anything suitable for him. So no, he's a pretty good horse and he's very forward. So I'm expecting a good run from him. Even though he's still a colt, he's not a gross horse. He's very athletic, so he's not a hard horse to keep fit. Look, he won the Guineas on a wet track. You know, the day started off pretty good and I think they downgraded it to a slow 7. So a little bit of rain's not going to worry him at all. You know, he's quite a big boy, so a bit of cut in the ground won't hurt him. Look, I've got him in the Copeland's Mile, but I think at this stage of his preparation, he'd be better off just staying a little bit closer to home. Probably look at the Weight for Age 2,000 metre race on Melbourne Cup Day at Ellerslie. I think that's a nice target for him.
Aidan, he's certainly got some high hopes for this horse, hasn't he?
Yeah, he does, and understandably too. He is a high-class galloper, and he's been bullish on him the whole way through, as has Jason Waddell, who's been with him. Obviously, with 54 kilograms, Michael Coleman gets his chance here, and him against
the second week in a row, he's ridden a handy 4-year-old with a lightweight, Mickey Coleman. Yeah,
Te Shark last week under 53, and that's the beauty about Coleman being able to get there. And I spoke to his dad who drove him down to Hastings last week. He said he's getting there pretty easily too, so which is great. Two really good horses that highlight a really good running of Matamata Cup, but not the be-all and end-all of chances.
Definitely not. Like Deals and Heels nearly went over the inside running rail last week when at about the 150 or 175, so her sort of 11th is not a fair reflection of where she should have finished behind Te Shark. She, you know, lined up this day last year and was beaten by Sleeping Beauty, but the 1600 metres at this stage of her prep should be ideal. She's going to get a sweet run on the rail there, and she'll appreciate she'll handle dead to slow or whatever. She's very versatile. And how about Richie McCourse? He's had a flashing red light on him 2 starts this prep.
Yeah.
He's been really good. The extra 200 metres will be suitable. He's won over a mile before, and I know he's going to be even better over 2,000, but he's absolutely flying for Chris Gibbs and Michelle Bradley. So, yeah, just quite how bad a track he'll cope with remains to be seen.
Bets?
I'm happy to back demonetisation, but I sort of quite like the Quinella around the 4 horses that I mentioned as well, taking demonetisation and Sheriff as anchors or bankers, however you want to call it. So you're getting a bigger unit on those 2 if they Quinella it, and then with Deals and Heels and Richie McCourse if they manage to split the 2. But you're pretty keen on the 4-year-olds, with a lot of respect around those horses who've earned their ratings by good performances in Deals and Heels and Richie McCourse.
Yep, the 2 that I've got on top, and my bet in the race will be Deals and Heels. I think she's been luckless in the last couple, and she's been a horse who's gone right through stakes placings through the winter, and she just looks in good form. She had no luck last time out, and just I'm going to throw something at you here with that Danger D bet. I've got 2 over 3 on it. It's at 44, or it was when I looked last night. This horse finished in a faster time overall than Sheriff when he won at Hastings last time. So he's run that in 123.36, and Sheriff's run 123.99 and been beaten 2 1/4 lengths. So it's 6 lengths faster. It's 6 lengths faster. Danger D's gone 6 lengths faster than a Flashing Light horse in Sheriff. So at 44s against a $2.40 price or whatever at Sheriff, it's just worth a play.
That'll do me. I might get on during the break. Stay with us here on the First Call. After this, we're going to take a look at the 3-year-old set weight and penalty, race number 4 from Matt.
Swiss Watch I thought was very good 3 wide at Ruakaka. I expect that he'll be very, very hard to beat the last.
It is Swiss Watch and Jason Waddell. Ciroc Caroline second, Hinarangi, and Incantissimo is flying the last little bit. But that is a very good ride, Jason Waddell. Swiss Watch will win.
Yeah, I'm going for English Gambler today at Tauranga. It just looks to be a really suitable race.
But he's home the favourite, English Gambler. English Gambler will win it second over. We'll be saying Saturn on.
Savvy Cope, go you good thing. Here's hoping in the Copeland's colour she can do the job.
But it's Sally Cope in front. Run, baby, run. She's home.
Doesn't often happen, does it? That we get 3 best bets home and Chris Johnson shows that much emotion.
I was going to say the emotion
I feel as
that he
though
showed.
that win felt, you know, it meant a lot to him, didn't it?
Well, he did reveal after the race that he was feeling a bit of pressure, didn't he? And like that's not something that you hear from him because he is so calm, he's so experienced. But it meant a lot.
Tell you what would have helped him was that Peach ride the race before on Dark Princess. He just rode that just beautifully. It would have given him a lot of confidence for the Savvy Cope ride and for him to come back into form on those big days. We just expect it, don't we?
But sometimes you forget about, you know, these are top-level athletes. There's, you know, people place their hard-earned on these horses, the pressures around it. And so a guy like Johnson, with all that experience, all that Group 1 experience, primarily around Australasia, all that success, this late in his career can still feel the moment and still react to how good that moment was. And, you know, you've got a guy like Jason Waddell who's just in the zone as well. Unfortunately, he's suspended, but we've seen him on 2 of our 3 best bets there just give the nuts rides, like the rides of the race. It's stealing a poker term and applying it, I suppose.
Well, what Jason is doing, Jason's 3 seconds ahead of everyone else. He's done it before anyone's even thought of it. And Johnson, when he's in form, is much the same. You see that with the good jockeys. Opie, they just do things without having to really think about it.
Parks and Rusov are the other 2 at the moment.
Yes.
They are both just seeing it big.
From a punter's perspective, they're the jockeys that you certainly want to be following. Who are they riding in race number 4? Let's take a look at Matamata on Saturday. We've got Owen Patrick Boston on Dawn Patrol. There we go, $4.160.
He would have loved to have been on it, Jason, if he wasn't suspended, I'm sure, given that he won on it
Part
on
of life,
debut.
isn't it? Suspensions. I don't think suspensions are ever a reflection of a jockey's ability. It's somewhat a good thing sometimes, you would imagine, that they try hard and they push for gaps.
One time when Opie was chasing a New Zealand Derby ride, Craig Grills was, I think, 4 from 5 on a horse, got suspended. Opie jumped on it for the Waikato Guineas and they said, "Oh, it'll just be a one-off ride." And I said to them, no, this is when we've got to find our Derby ride. So, okay, we kept the ride, Mongolian Khan, a couple of Derbies and a Caulfield Cup later. And
inside into the millions, the $1 million swings.
Well, Jason Waddell might be out at the moment, that Dawn Patrol ride.
Did you give Craig Grills something? At least a thank you card or something like that? Grills is in Singapore. I'm going to send him the clip and just say, "Have you charged?"
Stop it. Not a bad idea.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
It is. Let's have a look at the speed map for this. Not a bad idea. It was a horse who was very good, finishing second last start to the races. You've got it settling a little way back out of barrier number 2. Wings with the pace off the inside here, but you feel as though Nili Secundus from the very much informed Bashara stable could lead here, right?
I really think that there's a good opportunity for them to push forward. It's a wide gate and there's not a great deal of speed in this race. Blue and Black took advantage of a slow tempo last time out to score. They'll be positive on Dawn Patrol. You've got horses like Fazioli Mask, Rip 'em Up all getting back in speed here. Valali out there wide along with Fluent Pure.
Okay, not a bad idea. We're going to take you back to its second behind Bobby Dazzler. This one was the Wanganui Guineas, of course, got up to the outside of Bobby Dazzler turning for home. This one is a son of highly recommended. His first up run, Jason, may have come as a little bit of a surprise, but this was definitely not.
It was a surprise to many in the market, but the performance at Taupo was excellent. And then this underscored it. Now, OK, Bobby Dazzler was disappointing, was vetted after the Hawke's Bay Guineas. There was no abnormalities found, but obviously you'd have to say wasn't right, like Bobby Dazzler. So I don't think you'd be necessarily looking at...
Is that the horse back there in the Baker colours? That's Botty.
Yeah.
Running 4th.
That's right. But what I'm also trying to say is that just because Bobby Dazzler failed last week, that doesn't... It was too bad a failure, so you just
has certainly shown that the form of that race is stacking up.
100%.
And he's gone to Geelong and won, and yeah, it would have been interesting if Jason hadn't been suspended, which way he would have gone, because I know he does like Not a Bad Idea, but he was also very good on this Dawn Patrol, and he gave it a wrap afterwards, so he'll come back, and knowing Jason, he'll pick up whatever he wants to. He's not going to be sitting on the sideline. But it was a soft win, Dawn Patrol, that day, and obviously a horse who's got a lot of upside.
Okay.
Did capitalise on a lovely run, though. That was maybe the thing that you just say about it. It was a soft run in transit, and it wasn't a strong race. Yeah. This is definitely an acid test race for it because it's up in grade. This is not a bad little field.
But the rain around Matamata, which has the track rated a dead 6. So there was 19 mils overnight. Should be okay out of a Starway mare, being by Dawn Approach, and got through that slow 7 there. So that, you know, any downgrading of the track or if it's sort of slow would be okay. What
about Valali from the Baker Forsman team?
Really good run at Avondale. I thought the run of Rip 'em Up in that race was solid. I know there's a small weight swing against Rip 'em Up in favour of Valali, but I really like this Rip 'em Up as a filly.
No, I don't think there is. I think the same weights. They both carried the weights that they're carrying tomorrow, as they did last start. So on that, Rip 'em Up, obviously there was a protest third against second that day.
My apologies, yeah.
Yeah, so Rip 'em Up's run was very, very good. Looks like a progressive filly. And from here we'll go towards the Sarton and then into the 1,000 guineas. And she looks like an exciting prospect.
Yes. I think that she would have gained a lot from that experience. She still looks like she's got a lot to learn, but there's a lot of raw ability there.
Yeah.
And maybe by that, I know it's only race 4, but you know, depending on how the track plays, maybe just being back and wide will allow momentum to be built into the race by Danielle Johnson when she wants to go.
There's a cracking race.
I get the feeling that she really could sustain a 600-metre run like a real good horse.
Just want to touch on the Matamata track before we move on to our best bets. There's been a lot of racing on the Matamata track in recent times. Jason, is there some sort of pattern, or are we expecting a fair day of racing?
It's just been so rain. A lot of the recent racing has been rain affected. So
we're going from having midweek meetings at Matamata to a Saturday grade meeting where they're likely to go a little
harder. As a general rule, on this day, when the track's not heavily rain affected, being on the rail is an advantage. Like being sort of inside 3 metres is an advantage, just how they seem to run there. It's not an easy, when the rail's in the true, it's not easy to make ground. But, you know, when tracks are changing significantly you just have to wait and see and sort of be reactive to the pattern as you see it.
We'll have Brendan Popple along track for us, courtesy of Trackside there on Saturday. Looking forward to seeing what he's got to say about the meeting. OK, best bets time. Last week, 3 from 3. Can we do it this week? Jason Tarn, you start us away.
Yeah, race number 3 at Harweda, Tinkerlicious, hasn't had a heck of a lot of luck in even 2 starts this preparation. Draws a fraction of concern, but again, like the sweeping nature of the track, I think she's going to be very, very hard to beat, Tinkerlicious, at a really nice price too.
Yeah, she was definitely luckless last time out. I'm keen on ladies first, as I've said earlier on, the Egmont Cup.
I'm going to go with the 2,000 guineas Hope Vernon Me. There's obviously a lot of word around for this horse. You could have got $61 for the 2,000 guineas. Goes around in race number 1 at Matamata over 1,600 metres. This will draw around barrier 4 or 5 once the emergencies come out. Sidewink is going on with Danielle Johnson and Stephen Marsh, and will wear the Valachi Downs colours, of course, the Punters Lounge on Saturday morning, brought to you by Valachi Downs. You're with the first call, though. We head to Australia next. It is Everest Day. Dan O'Sullivan along. Stay tuned.
Mass is really solid, like if you take a line through.
Vegan Magic Brace Smash running on, then Chula, but Redzel, he's home in the Everest. Redzel leads all the way. Take me.
Do you want to win one of 3 free $500 bets? Head on to the TAB Trackside Facebook page. There's a nice photo of Jason, Aidan and myself dressed up like Sir Edmund Hillary climbing Mount Everest. You can comment underneath who your favourite person is.
Favourite mountaineer.
Yeah, your favourite mountaineer. Your favourite mountaineer. And tomorrow morning with me on the Punters Lounge, we will announce the winner. We've got 3 winners, $500 outright win bets. We'll tell you tomorrow what we're backing. All you have to write is Jason Tarn, Aidan Rodley. You don't even have to write our last names. Jason, Aidan or Matt.
I'm happy if I'm referred to as Tenzing.
OK, fair. Tenzing Norgate. Righto, stop it. This is Trackside, not the Comedy Channel. And we're going to head to Dan O'Sullivan in Australia. Dan, Everest Day, Saturday. Really looking forward to it here in New Zealand, and we're looking forward to your view on the race and how it may unfold. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. It's a terrific race, Everest Day, and of course Guineas Day in Melbourne as well. It's one of the great days of the spring. the weather hasn't been too kind in Sydney. It's continued to rain this week, and there's still a few more showers hanging around between now and perhaps even some on Saturday. So the track's going to be genuinely wet, probably tipping into that heavy range, and I think that will definitely play a role in the Everest especially. But the horse I've backed is Shoals. I really like her in this race, and I think she's around $7.50 in your markets, which I think is a terrific price. I can't mark her any longer than $5.50 here. I think the run in the Premier Stakes was outstanding. It was the run of the race. She showed good gate speed out of the barriers, and it was only the wide draw that made her ease back, and then she had to cover extra ground around the turn, and she really unleashed a very fast last 400-metre sprint and hit the line powerfully to just miss behind Santa Ana Lane. And I think, that's a high-quality race with excellent speed measures in terms of overall times and sectionals. It's the strongest lead-up form to this race, and I think the key is first of all, the heavy track. We know that she'll get through that, which is a tick. But from barrier 2, she's going to be able to use that gate speed to settle it a little bit closer here on the inside, and then just look to work through the field around the turn and into the straight before presenting to stake her claim for the race. And importantly, when I look back at past meetings at Randwick under similar conditions with a wet track and a true rail, that's very much been a successful pattern of horses sitting closer to the inside and just tracking up and then getting a gap sort of part way up the straight and sort of running on a couple of horses away from the fence. It's been much more successful than those that are looking to get back and loop around the outside, for example. So I think Shoals is really the only horse I could back in this race because it's very, very difficult to split the other chances with any confidence. So I think, Time and Santa Ana Lane ran very well in the Premier with Shoals, but look, they had significant favours in the run, which they may not get here. Redzel's definitely a chance, but he was flat last start and he may get some pressure up on the lead here from a horse like US Navy Flag. Trapeze Artist can spike a big rating, but there has to be a query if he can do that on heavy ground. Even the stable say he's perhaps not at his best, and the same goes for Vega Magic. Look, if there is a blowout in the race, I think Graf's the best long shot for me. He's the one with that X factor and the one that's still most likely to run to a new peak in this race. And look, if he can do that, then it lifts him to a rating figure that can be, somewhere near the finish of this race and perhaps running on into a place. So, look, I think it's a great race, but from a betting perspective, Shoals is the only horse I can be on.
Just going back to Vega Magic, Dan, you sort of discussed a little bit about him. What did you make of his Memsey run, the shape of that race, and how you expect him to bounce out of that?
Look, it was really disappointing. When he won first up, I thought I was really keen on the horse last year in the Everest, which ended up a bit of a debacle with the ride. And when he won first up at Caulfield, I thought at that time that he was going to go into the Everest as clearly the horse to beat. But as you mentioned, he was just flat in the Memsey. Look, I've looked at it from every possible angle, and there was really no excuse that you could sort of offer for the horse. So I think we just put it down to a flat run. I do like the fact that he comes into this race off a freshen up, and look, he still has the best rating peak in this race, and I think that carries some weight. But look, David Hayes has said that the horse doesn't like the track too wet, so that sort of sticks in the back of my mind. Not that trainers are always correct. But yeah, he's definitely a query in this race. It wouldn't surprise me if he won, but at the same time, it's hard to be confident in his prospects.
Let's go to the Caulfield Guineas, Dan, and the Autumn Sun. He lines up as a short-priced favourite in this. We love the horse here in New Zealand, and I'd imagine the same is felt in Australia. $1.90 is the price for him. What do you make of that?
Oh, look, I think that's a terrific price. I mean, people tend to think that anything odds on can't be value, but look, I think it's outstanding value for a horse of his talent. He was brilliant in the Golden Rose. He produced a genuine Group 1 performance. None of the others in this race have come close to that level so far, and even if they run to a new peak here, it's rare to see a horse make a big enough jump that they'll need to match the Autumn Sun. And I think what makes it even more ominous for his rivals is that he's probably the one in the race that arguably has the best potential to go to a new peak himself, stepping up to the 1,600 metres. So, look, I think he's clearly the horse to beat here. I think he'll settle a little bit closer from that draw, and even if he does give him a bit of start, he's got a phenomenal turn of foot and he'll be strong at the end of 1,600. I think, look, there's been comments about Sydney horses going to Caulfield for the first time being disadvantaged, but when you actually research that, it's well and truly a myth. The stats show that horses, doing that, they actually perform a little bit better than market expectations. And when you're talking about well-fancied horses, they perform every better. And just a little insight for your viewers, if you backed every Sydney horse that went to Caulfield for their first start that was sort of fancied the top two chances in the market, then you actually made a small profit without doing any form at all. So it kind of puts to bed that idea that Sydney horses can be disadvantaged. I mean, of course, there's isolated cases where horses have been, but it's well and truly overwhelmed by the overall figures. So I don't think we need to be concerned about that. And look, it's impossible to see any other horse improving to match the peak of the Autumn Sun. He's just too far clear in this race. And but the only scenario to see him beaten is either he's terribly unlucky in the run or he simply fails, which can happen. But I've allowed for that, and I can still find him at $1.60 in this race, which is certainly no moral. It still says he's going to lose almost 4 in 10 times, but it's as long as I could possibly mark the horse. So I think $1.90 is definitely, genuine value for a horse that, looks like he's on the way to becoming a truly elite sort of Group 1 talent.
Is he one of your best bets of the weekend, Dan?
Yeah, look, I think he's definitely the best bet at Caulfield. As I said, he's genuinely terrific value, and with his chance of winning, you've also got a high chance of collecting. The other horse I like at Randwick is race 6, number 3, Jungle Edge, who's perhaps the best wet tracker in Australia, and he turns up in what's known as the second tier Everest race, the Sydney Stakes, I think it's called. And look, when you filter this horse's form and look at his ratings on heavy tracks, he's consistently very good. And it gives him a nice little edge over some of the other chances in this race who perhaps aren't at their best on heavy. And from that draw, I think he can lead. It'll be no disadvantage to be near the inside based on recent history. And he's around that $5 mark at the moment. And I think he's a terrific value bet on what's going to be a tough card at Randwick, especially in the conditions.
Always love chatting, Dan O'Sullivan. Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy the weekend. We'll catch you the same time, same place next week. You can jump onto Dan's Twitter page at TRB Horse Racing. Give him a follow on there. And there is some information gold if you've ever got a spare 5 minutes for a read. To Thad Taylor at Batoni. Thad, morning. Off the back of the Group 1 day last week, Savvy Cope, a good result for punters. How did you guys fare?
Yeah, up the special, guys. Te Akau Shark, Love Affair, Quinella at $4.50. Look, we had customers on the ropes, it's fair to say, swinging. We probably overdid it. Maybe George Foreman and Rumble in the Jungle by race 6. And then Crash Bang Wallop, customers came back. Te Akau Shark, Savvy Cope, obviously, and then finished us off with Swiss Watch. So I think we're gone for a split decision there at Hastings yesterday, but a fantastic day all round.
Feature race coming up at Harwater, the Taranaki Breeders' Stakes. How do we assess the race in terms of the way the market's played?
Yeah, look, these quality mares, these sort of favourites mares in these fillies breeders races, fillies and mares races, tend to do very well. And so Living on a Prayer, Darscape Princess, Yearn, those horses up the top of the market do tend to perform well, but that doesn't mean there isn't some value down the page. And particularly with a shower of rain, we've had money for Art Deco and Rosewood at double-figure odds. But yeah, at this stage, just that threat of rain, and we're not quite sure where that track's going to settle, just has put a little bit of a dampener on turnover thus far.
Thad, there's another horse on the card that seemingly has attracted money. That's Ladies First. Alan Sharrock's confident, Aidan Rodley's confident. The money's saying that it's an on, get on.
It certainly is, yeah. 4.20 when we opened, Jason. Clearly our worst liability on the whole Hara card at this stage is Ladies First. So, yeah, look, for racing, it'll be good to see her back in the winner's circle, and and hopefully onwards to Melbourne with a few races in mind there. But yeah, look, absolutely, it's get on time. It's obviously been labelled everywhere from Harbour up to New Plymouth, because some big money around Ladies First to turn her form around to some degree in the Egmont Cup tomorrow afternoon.
A couple of key races add to Matamata. Thad, Demonetisation takes on Sheriff, and then we see the 3-year-old set weight and penalty featuring Not a Bad Idea up the top of the book. Any movement in those two races?
Yeah, not so much in the second one that you mentioned. That's pretty steady at this stage, Matt. But look, in that race, Matamata Cup, look, Richie McCourse, very interesting. They've had a $2,000 bet on Richie McCourse in that middle market. Both the runs back have been pretty good. We've also had $5,000 on the favourite in Sheriff as soon as we opened this market at $2.90. And obviously Demonetisation right there at $4. So, yeah, hasn't been a lot of movement, but there has been some big action, particularly around Sheriff and Richie McCourse.
What about a special today, Thad?
Well, you're sticking with the theme here, guys. You got us last week with the Quinella there, Love Affair and Te Ake Shark. What about a boxed Quinella? A Living on a Prayer, Darscape Princess and Yearn, the 3 favourites in the Hara or the Taranaki Breeders, Fillies and Mares race, $5.50. You can have them 3, any 2, must run the Quinella, of course, and you can have $5.50 for $1 invested. It'll be open till 5 o'clock this afternoon. Option 1, selection 1. Matt, what do you reckon?
I like it. Thank you, Thad. We'll see you next week.
You will.
He's good to us, isn't he?
He is. I'm going to put a lot of pressure on our graphics operator who needs to $25 I'll take of that special to take my spend up to 300, but that's not bad. Yeah, like those are the 3 horses that I was happy to play around. So thanks, Thad.
It's a really interesting special, isn't it? Because we're getting sort of an exotic big type we don't have here. We were able to get you know, obviously we can box them ourselves, but and one special there. 3 horses to run in 2, fantastic.
Jason Tarn, as per the norm, every Friday morning, you can start us away with your bank bets.
Thank you, very kind.
New season, $1,000. We're back to 1,000.
Okay,
so I can't afford to be throwing 500s around.
I mean, how about the money though for ladies first? I think I'm on the back end of a hiding here. Anyway, Grand Eagle in race number 1 at Matamata. A Quinella as well. I think Tony Pike has a very strong hand in that first race. Rip 'em Up, I really like her as a filly and just happy to be on her in a race like that and trust that Stephen Marsh has got her ticking along as well as you'd expect and that she'd improve. The monetisation in race 6, a Quinella there. How about that in race number 7? Race number 3 at Harwood, a Tinkalicious, my best with Nymph Monty. I have lobbed ladies first in a Quinella. Living on a Prayer, Yearn, and a little bit on that TFC Special 25. So I'm spending 300. So I really need to hit early in this next phase.
Yep. Well, good luck.
The record shows that you have been hitting, so it's not going to be any surprise. And nice of you to try and push your money out on Nymph Monte too by pushing us back into ladies first. Okay, in the second out of Matamata, I'm going to Konig on an each-way basis. Sister Beetle in the third. Mask. We didn't talk about Mask in the
we missed the
3-year-old race. Now it was hitting the line beautifully last time out. We talked about Tavassan in the Caulfield Guineas. Well, last preparation, Mask beat Tavassan. I thought it was at a really nice price, 5/10 there. Chungua, 5/10 in the 5th at 12s with Opie Bosson on. You want to be part of that. Deals and Hills and Danger D in the Matamata Cup. Sleeping Beauty, Midnight Runner, and I Want to Dance Like Him. Now, I haven't got the favourite in any of these, so 10s and 5s on the wins on those. Each way on Caricature at 10s I thought was a really attractive price in the 8th. And in a really weak last race, there's no reason why Prince Jabil can't go back-to-back. 5/10 there.
You're getting $9 for Mask, by the way.
$9. So that, that was I had the horse around $7.50, and I think Jason had the horse even shorter. So happy with the price. 20/50 on my bet of the day, ladies first. Mon Recur 10/20, and 10/15 on Living in a Prayer in the Taranaki Breeders for a $270 spend.
Okay, Stu and I to go. Stu and I have got a punishment to catch up on. Vernon Me, race number 1 at Matamata. Sidewinkers go on. He looked as though he was a horse first up who got back on the rail. He got clear here over shorter trips.
So you head-to-head with Jason there, because I think you're on...
he took it into
Grand
Quinella.
Eagle,
Yeah. Do you think the name is actually a tip of the hat to Sir Colin Meads? I was just wondering, was Verna and Me? Because I looked up Verna and Me and there was just nothing at all. So I thought it was maybe Verna and Me, just a tip of the hat to Sir Colin Meads.
It might be. And wouldn't that be a great story?
I actually tried to ring Stephen Marsh and find out yesterday, but he wouldn't pick up. he's screwed me.
Well, he's 61 into 31s in the 2,000 guineas. My value of the weekend is in race number 3 at Harwood, Ophelia Lee. 20 each one, that horse paying $12. I think it's going to have the opportunity to press forward with Sean Mackay doing the riding, and I love the price around it. Maygrove 50 to place in race number 6 in Rosewood. I'm going to have 20 each one here, just in case it pours down with rain.
And if you pour down with rain, then you're going to get a great price.
Exactly, and I'm willing to spend $40. And Sheriff into the Autumn Sun, $280.
You're backing the weatherman.
I'm backing the weatherman.
I've got to say, I do rate the screen.
Stu Lang, $20 percentage box trifecta race number 1 at Matamata, 1, 3, 12 and 15. So he's gone with, he's got Grand Eagle, Harbourside and Vernon Me in there, and he's put in Havoc, a 5-year-old son of Pins who's fresh up for Cody Cole. Race number 2, he's got 10 to win on the 12, and that is O'Hara.
Is that a minimum quantity?
To Cody Cole. He's a Cody Cole fan, isn't he?
Yeah, well, Cody's actually made a really good start to his career too.
He has. Race number 5, 20 to win. Not being disrespectful, Jason, how do we pronounce it?
Oh, I hadn't got it spot on. Chingua.
Chingua, but it's actually
a $30 percentage quaddy. Here we go. Harwater, $20 box trifecta, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, $120 spend. tab.co.nz/the punters lounge. You'll find all of the information from the show this morning on the first call. Plus, we will have Jason Tan and Aidan Rodley previewing Matamata, myself and Jason Tan.
How often in a week
Harwater.
do you ring people and you sense that you're getting screened? I reckon it's nearly every day for me.
Well, I ring you 4 times a week and I haven't spoken to you this week, so work that out. Just head on to the Punters Lounge. All of the information is on there. And on Facebook, $500 bet. Jason is giving away one of those. Aidan is, and myself. All you have to do is go and comment our names. Don't put nicknames because we probably share some of the same nicknames that you would suggest. That's been the first call. Stay with us next week.
Don't be
We'll
trolls.
recap the Everest and we'll look forward to some good racing from New Zealand. Goodbye.
I got money in the bank. I got news for you, baby.